Also while we're preparing, if anyone has agenda items, drop them in. Now's your chance. One other question, there's Shivam and Subrid.
You don't need to pronounce the W in there. It's just Supradeep. Yeah. The W is there to confuse you.
Okay. Mission accomplished. Supradeep. Those two gentlemen were asking for issues, so I'll ping them. And so was Abhishek Jamhoria.
So we are 3 minutes over. So let's begin for now. If other people join in the middle, we can catch up with them. So hey guys, welcome to the websites call. Since we don't have any newcomers as of now, we'll go straight into the agenda. The first item on the agenda is design needed for the catalog, just the top portion of the catalog. So there's a call for volunteers. Basically, we've been working on a service mesh patterns catalog, a service mesh catalog, not exactly for patterns. That's why this part is not that relevant, since the catalog also includes WebAssembly filters. So there's an open need to come up with a design so that we can give a soft start to the catalog and then move on to the real part.
This is more visual design. There is a service mesh patterns logo that can be used as fodder for what's displayed. So like Aditya said, it's not just patterns, there's also WebAssembly filters. So, and then in the future, there will be eBPF programs as well. So if anyone would like to try to design something, and by design, it doesn't have to be artwork. It could just be something more intriguing than 2 paragraphs of text.
So I guess moving on, unless and until someone wants to say anything, or if someone wants to volunteer here on the call so that we can write your name down and hold you against it. I guess not. Okay. So Devopriya or Deepayan, the filters in the mobile view, would one of you guys like to take over?
Okay, so Deepayan was working on it, and I'm not sure if he's on the call today. So can I come back to this once he is, because it'll be easier to explain, like stuff.
Sure. So I see that Shivam has joined us. Shivam, I'm guessing this is your first websites call. Would you like to give a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Let me just switch on the camera, right? So I hope I hope everything's fine now.
There it is. Yeah, you're cold. It's cold where you are too. Okay, good.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. So
Yeah.
it's my first meeting over here, and I have worked with Kunal Verma in the past, and I was actually interviewing for some startups, and when through them, I kind of found out that a bunch of them were, mentioning some repeated terms, and that included machinery. So I was kind of intrigued to how are they working, and like if I can, as a student, contribute to them, why am I interviewing for them at the first place? So I joined the Slack over here, and then uh, I grabbed on few issues, and trying to get started by installing Meshery UI and stuff. So that's my current history with Meshery so far. Thanks.
That's great. It's even better to hear that other startups are talking about meshing. Okay.
Shivam, did you were you successful in building Meshery UI by chance?
Uh, I have had few problems, as in how to get started. I won't lie, but I'm looking into it.
Sure.
Shouldn't take much longer than expected.
No, that's okay. By the way, have you seen? I'll put a link in the chat to in case you haven't seen the contributing guide specifically for Meshery UI. Are you on a Windows machine or something else?
Yep, I'm on Windows.
Okay, gotcha. There's a special place in hell for people who run Windows. I'm just no. No, it doesn't matter at all. Actually, the only reason that I ask and the only reason that it matters is A, so that I can harass you but then B, the only reason it matters is because, unless you're running WSL2, the make command that is most talked about when building something like Meshery UI, make isn't native to Windows. And so the only reason I ask is because it can throw you for a loop, or it can be so if you have WSL2, that's a nice environment that's a more friendly environment to work, project friendly environment to work within. There are solutions for make out there. There's also other solutions of just like not using make, just use the commands that are inside of the make file itself. And so if none of that makes sense, I'll still be dropping that link in the chat so that you can kind of step through it. By the way, as anyone goes through any of the docs, whether it's the contributing docs or anywhere else, there's always opportunity for improvement. Which means if you hit your knee on something, then maybe we should make an update so that others don't bruise themselves as they go through it as well.
Yep, I already shared the link to the contributing guide in the chat. So since the Pine is not on the call, we'll skip over his topic today. Abhijay, would you like to speak to your topic?
Yeah, so I'm not sure about this same design as discuss callout. It is not added by me. Can you share something on this? Do I need
this was actually this was actually as a fallback for the community handbook callout. Yeah, so if we are not able to think of anything else, so we'll use the exact same design as the discuss callout.
Yeah. And the second one is for discuss page. So I made a discuss page using the files Lee shared, and it is working fine for me. But when I made a PR for that, it is overwriting the changes on server. So I'm not sure about it, like how to resolve those changes, as I am not aware of code that present in the server UI. So yeah, for discuss page, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, here it is. So Lee shared this file. This file is associated with app.js. Yeah, or I don't know, maybe from app.css, and this file is present in that local file too. But I am confused with this file, that footer.css. It is not present in locally, and it is overwriting those changes. As you can see, I shared this video, and those footer changes are responsive for me, but on server it is not. So how can I resolve this?
Yeah, let me jump in there. All right, well, just as a, so Abhijay explained this really well, but just as one more piece of backstory for everyone else, this website, the discuss.layer5.io, it was created here on this call and led by a meshmate, Josh Patel. So anyway, that's part of that's the genesis story. And then as it was being developed, it was, recognized that this particular project is a little bit different from some of the other websites in so much as, the core of it is an instance of discourse that's running. Discourse is, I think, unfortunately, I don't know, it's written in PHP and some other things. And it's not necessarily unfortunate that it's written in PHP per se. Geez, I've got all kinds of tech bigotry just coming out of my mouth this morning. That's not necessarily the issue. The issue is that it was created 10 years ago. It's a long project, an older project. And yeah, and it can make it a little bit difficult for all of us to kind of collaboratively contribute to. What we had done in the past was run 2 instances of it. So a staging discuss where you could mess it up and there was no pressure, no sweat. It costs a little bit to run things in public clouds. And so that second instance has been turned down, leaving us with just the one. So normally in the past, this had been easier to test. In the past, this had been, we'd had a different site that you could run. Now, having said that, maybe we should have instructions for how to run it locally, because that's feasible as well. More of a pain in the rump. So I don't know. The one thing we could do is take your latest changes and try them out live now, and leave it up for a little while, because it's because it's fine, because there aren't thousands of people on the site every second of the day, and they're not all on mobile. And so Abhijay, have you made any changes to the CSS since the last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't make any changes, as it is working fine for me. So I thought it is working fine everywhere. So, but I think some classes are overwriting. So if I get that code or those files that are associated in that project, then it will be easy for me to make those changes. Yeah.
There can be another issue. If your branch is not updated, try fetching the upstream. I think that might be an issue.
No. I already did that. My branch is up to date because as you can see, I made this pair and it is saying that only one file is affected. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, if it's all right, I think we have time in the schedule, and this is what these kinds of calls are for. So if it's all right with everyone, let's do a little bit of troubleshooting to make sure that we get past over the hump, so to speak. So here's Abhijay's. Well, actually, before we do that, I'll say the site itself, the custom CSS that you use on the site, you go into the administrative section and you paste in your CSS into a text field.
Okay, using inspect.
Yeah, you could, or rather, yes, I think that inspect is going to be really helpful as we go to troubleshoot this.
Yeah.
But rather, what I was going to say is that on the staging site that we used to have, people, you all would be made an administrator so that you can go in and go into the admin area and perform these things. Since we don't have that, I'm going to share and paste it in, like make the update for your code, and then we'll leave it up for a while so you can do inspect and other things to try to troubleshoot. If any of you are around long enough or invested enough in this particular site, then my hope for you is that you become a moderator and then at some point become an admin, or like this is another one of our initiatives that's community created, community governed. You just have to demonstrate that you care, and that you generally won't screw it up. Everyone, including myself, screws things up all the time. So that's not. It's just that you don't do it most of the time. Okay, so here's the custom CSS, and this is the current CSS that's out there. Okay, what I was trying to say before I rambled on was to say that, well, so when changes to the CSS here are made, it's not necessarily the way that we have the system set up. It's just being pasted in here, so it's not necessarily going through. It's not necessarily being persisted in GitHub, which means that what's in here can be out of date with the manually pasted code that we're keeping in
assets.
Assets.
Yep. Discuss.
So one of the things that I had done was just grab a copy of what is here now and paste it into the pull request that Abhijay has, just to make sure that you got a copy of that. Now it strikes me that there's another CSS file. Oh, is this the same thing? Hero styles, categories.
Yeah, it is same, but I don't know why it is overwriting those changes on.
Yeah, or rather, I guess what I mean to say is, I thought that, so this is the footer CSS, and the other one would, and
it's different.
okay.
So the footer CSS, there's actually a separate footer CSS. I think that's on staging. I'm not sure. I've not seen it here before. So
Okay. So there's a slight point of confusion there to think about. The other thing that I guess I wasn't paying much attention to, footer.html. Do we really have yeah, okay. Of course we have a custom footer.
okay, yeah, now I remember. If you could go back to discuss, could you press on desktop, like common desktop? Yeah, these are the footer styles. This is the CSS for the footer, and this is the HTML.
Gotcha. So mobile
has nothing.
Yeah, well, that's funny because you don't necessarily. Okay, so man, yeah, it seems like we're being a little. This is kind of. I suppose it makes sense that you might be using all three, but it also just makes sense that we would just have one common CSS for using breakpoints and things. So I would propose that we try to collapse anything specific to desktop or mobile into common. Ultimately, for Abhijay, as you work through this, it kind of doesn't matter because your approach is really the same. You're just using you're not detecting the user agent, and we're not loading up different CSS based on the user agent. So having one common CSS, I think it makes sense. Having it split into sections is fine.
Yep. We can make a common CSS, and I will make it responsive using media queries, so we don't need mobile also. So yeah.
Okay, okay, got it. The other thing is I'm confusing, I think all of us and myself a little bit. I keep thinking that this whole thing is all about CSS. It's like, well, no, actually, it's also about HTML. So if you want to drop something into the footer on desktop, here's the HTML for that, okay? If you want to drop something into the footer either way, there's no HTML. What? So like maybe we should move this to common.
We can
Yeah,
try
we
that.
could. So yet again, I'm saying this again. I commented on GitHub as well. The thing is, the template that we use for discourse is not mobile friendly. It's the issue with the template. That's why the footer is not working. So getting it completely similar to the one on layer5.io, I don't think is possible. Otherwise, we'll have to make intervals of media tags and then hard code it all the way. Because I've spent because this was my first issue when I came into the community and I haven't solved it yet. So it's yeah. So I think that's the reason we don't have it in common and we have it on desktop is because of that. Like I don't recall. I had spoken to Josh about it. I don't recall the conversation. It was a long time ago. So yeah. So if we want the footer to be responsive, it might be the case that we'll have to change uh, the template that we are using.
We can make this template responsive if you want and use it as a common.
Yeah, we could try. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't think that we need to change the template as it is responsive in locally, but we need to figure out how can we make it responsive on site too. I think some classes are overwriting, and I'm not sure which classes are overwriting those changes. Because links are defined somewhere else as it is taking its CSS. In my local code, it shows those links underlined, and on web it is not. So yeah.
I guess, yeah, one way to, okay. Okay. Sounds like there's a couple of ways to skin this cat. So one is dealing with the theme that we're using. It's like an open question. Another one is having, leveraging the ability for this server to distinguish between user agent types, loading different HTML or CSS based on that. Okay. So another one is the breakpoints that are used. I think to kind of help you answer, reinforce, confirm your hunch, Abhijay, we can take the CSS you have now, load it up. Yeah, using inspect, you should be able to assess whether or not there's things that are overriding. So these are your changes.
Yeah.
Take them, put them into CSS here. One thing that's still kind of a question for me is,
I think you need to paste it below that, like with the code, not need to remove that code.
okay, I took an entire, that may well be the case. I took a copy of the entire thing. And so just to avoid any mistakes or any, by the way, I don't know if you noticed that small item.
Yeah.
With the comments.
I commented this, so I thought like we may need more bigger screens than desktop. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, it's having a problem with this. So I think it's the comment within a comment type. See how you start a comment section and then.
Okay.
And what happens is when it hits here, it interprets this as ending, I think this, and then so it gets, so anyway, okay, so your custom CSS is now applied. Here's what the site had currently, or oh no, I guess actually it refreshed. This is yours now. So
Yeah.
so maybe we'll leave it like that for a bit, let you explore.
Okay, I will check it.
Nice.
I
Okay.
think you took out the CSS for the header.
Yeah. You need to
Yeah.
paste the
It
CSS.
was on top of it. The one you removed and you replaced it
Yeah.
with just the footer CSS.
You need to paste that CSS below that existing one.
Yeah, that's why
You
we
just
don't have
remove.
fonts or the header CSS right now. Okay, we have fonts, but we don't have the header CSS.
I see. This is just the, oh, okay. This is just the footer CSS.
Yeah.
All right. So we go back to what I had pasted. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, and then Abhijay's changes on, okay. Those just need to be appended to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
In your, which that's a little bit confusing. We should make sure that, so which file currently represents this?
Maybe I have .css.
Oh, app.css, okay. Maybe we don't have this saved. Aditya, you don't, I know it's been a while, but you don't remember. I mean, it kind of looks like we don't have this. This wasn't necessarily saved anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Huh.
I think we have saved it from below all the fonts.
Saved it from, say it again?
Like after we have, written all the fonts, I think we have it from hero styles.
Oh, okay.
Header
Gotcha.
styles.
Body, okay. Well, import URL, font face, footer section styles. So if we put this into the okay, do we need the import? Okay, so if I paste this at the bottom, do we need this bit here? Or is this just sort of redundant with the font stuff?
It's redundant.
Abhijay, is it okay if I take this out for now? Is that gonna mess up your?
Yeah, I think it is okay to take this out. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Hopefully now we're in the right place for you to continue, working through it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone else have a better, yeah, I think we could get instructions for running this locally, but that's a bit of a burden. Preview. Okay. So what do we need to save now? So what we're saying is so Abhijay, if you don't mind, like the CSS that I pasted into the comment, I guess,
Yeah.
do you want to go ahead and combine that? Kind of do what we just did, combine that. Or eventually when you submit, this will need to be in there as well. If you would, since we're.
Yeah, okay. I will combine both the files and try to make a new pair or try to make changes in this pair. Then we will try to make footer responsive by combining both of the code of like body and header. So yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. The clock's ticking, by the way, because it's live. So.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abhijay. So moving on to the next topic, we have Gaurav. Gaurav, would you like to
Yep.
share your screen?
Yep. Thanks, Aditya.
If time permits, I also have one. I am also working on handbook component. So
Did you want to show that? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead, Abhijay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can go ahead.
So I made this design as Debupriya suggested that design in those comments. So I made this design, and what I'm planning to do to make a comic book page like this, that depicting handbook, and we made that page is like a carousel, and it will like keep moving between these slides. So is it fine, or do I need to change the design or something?
This looks quite good. Let Lise follow and then.
Yeah. All right, Father. It looks pretty good. Hey, a couple of things.
Okay.
It looks, you did a great job. We don't have anything necessarily cartoonish on the site yet. Or that's not
Okay.
that's not the style. If you were to tighten up the edges some, and maybe eliminate the, I don't know if you eliminate the in motion lines.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I will eliminate those lines, and I will also change its color if you want. I will keep it like black and white only. I made this color to green as it matches the site UI. So
Nice, yeah. And then the thought, you were saying that the thought is where that empty gap is, that
yeah,
part.
we made a page like carousel in which we can add the components of handbook, and when user click on those like hover on those components, then it will keep changing and showing components of handbook, and we will provide a read more button to read those things.
Cool. It might be a little small for what you try to put in there, because you'd really only be able to capture like a couple of words, which is each of the section titles are only a couple of words long, so that generally works. I wonder if, I don't know. It's interesting. I hate to I gotta say, people aren't it's not going to be intuitive that it's interactive and they should click it. It'll also be kind of a one-way nav, right? If there's 12 pages or 12 sections or so, or 10 or however many there are, that they would they clicked and they got interested on the second one, and then they clicked to go to the third, like, oops, and they got to click 10 more times to come full circle, right? Like that.
Yeah.
It might be that Well, boy, I'm running out of ideas. Well, first I'll just say, well, there's two things. One I'll say is, I'm surprised you got this far. Like I didn't think that you would. so that's, and then two, hey, heads up, Figma is notoriously crappy with SVGs, importing and exporting. It generally screws up.
It converts it into image. That's why I converted it online. But for design purposes, I just using Figma, not for SVG purposes. I'm using some online tools to convert it into SVGs.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah. I don't know, man. I wonder if like because we're spending, a little bit of time now, and then we'll spend some time next time, and then next time. And like, I wonder if there isn't a different project more worthy of this sort of investment. Like
I can change it. It's not a big deal. I will change it. Like if you want any other component or something, I will change it. It's not that time consuming. It just few hours of work.
Okay. Put a pin in this for just a second, if you would. Maybe let's circle back to the topic of where you're investing your time, and I'll tell you more about that in a second.
So I am trying to make a carousel between these two and try to animate this component.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, it was a good idea. Like there's a different project that maybe you should spend your time on. There's one that Intel is trying to work toward right now. We're going to be publishing a bunch of performance test results using the CNCF's labs, and then writing a blog post on the CNCF page, and then telling the world about the performance of service meshes. When we do, we need a whole nother section on the SMP spec.io website. A section that's totally non-existent today. And I guess what I'm saying is like, that's actually probably some intriguing design there is probably a better use of your time, because this is just a rework of an existing nav. Like the reality is the reality is sort of that, like, this sort of a setup for allowing users to discover topics inside of the handbook, it does everyone a disservice, because it reduces their ability to discover. Of what you see right now for that handbook overview, people can go and look and see that there's 12 sections, pick the one they want to go to, and that's not our trouble area. This sort of a thing, animated SVGs, oh yeah, we definitely want the, like, we've talked about these a lot, and we have a few of them on the site. And so, yeah, maybe let's come back to this topic in a bit, if we could.
Okay. We can discuss other topics.
Okay. Thanks, Abhijay. Gaurav?
Yep, I'm sharing the screen. Yep, I guess it's visible now. So, yep, so it's an update about adding a community managers page under the Meshmate section with having an entry to the mega menu. So the community page looks like this, having all the community members fetched from the Gatsby GraphQL subscription query, and some information about what does the community managers do. And like, if you want to know about more their roles and responsibilities, you can just head up to the community managers handbook. And the one update was that we don't need this community managers thing as a mega menu. We need it under the Meshmate page, but I added as a separate one because it will have much of a user scrolling down, and like lots of information may confuse the user about the Meshmate and community managers role. So yep, that was the reason I added it as a separate page over here. So yeah, comments or anything else?
I think if we have it as a separate page, we don't need to link it. We don't need to put it in the mega menu. What we could do is we could add this link to the badge that we have on the members page. Like similarly, we have one for Meshery operator. We don't link to that page anywhere. People just go to it if they click on the badge on the members page, because the mega menu
Oh.
is already filled with a lot of stuff. So if we add community managers to it as well, it's getting a little crowded.
Okay. You're talking about these badges?
Yeah, no, like it's sort of like that. Like if you click inside, open the profile. Yeah, these badges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like if you click on that, it goes to landscape. So
Yep.
similarly, the community badge would lead it to the community managers page.
Yep. Makes sense. Sure. And what else information do we need over here? So I will also update that thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Gaurav, this is nice. This is, I think you mostly hit it on the head. We don't have room for another hyperlink in the mega menu. So I made a quick update to pull it out. There is, if we do have them on their own page, I know it's redundant, but we probably would title the URL community-managers, which is kind of weird because you're already under community, but managers unto its own doesn't, I don't know. I think that the context is helpful. Since we won't have this link in the mega menu, discovery right now would only happen through the badge on people's profiles, which would mean not very many people would see the community managers because they just wouldn't really get there. Which then begs the question of like where else to call out the fact that there are community managers, which in my mind, the community managers perform a role somewhat similar to Meshmates. They are distinct, hence the different roles, but they are quite related. And so I guess like the part of my question is like, what does it look like to have community managers on this page? The same content that you have, but down below.
Yep. That will involve a lot of scrolling for the, as per the user experience. I'm seeing that will involve scrolling, and we already have a lot of content above that. So, and having this almost similar pictures and all information below that would make a bit cluttered, not much. So
Yeah.
I guess what Aditya said like seems more relevant, having this navigate to the community manager's profile.
Makes sense. Yep, that makes sense to that individual page. Yeah. Cool. No one will ever find it, but that's.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if we have it on the
that's-
same page, like same pictures of all of us would be there twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like if I'm a user, I will hardly like click this. Oh, like this is clickable. Oh,
Yeah, like since like suppose some meshmates are also community managers, right? So their pictures would be there twice.
Yeah.
hmm.
We should.
And the scrolling is the scroll would increase by a lot since that page has a lot of content. It's not that small. We could later on we could think of other ways that we could include it.
Sounds good.
We can probably start a link from the Meshmates page, like meet our community managers on the Meshmates page, and the community managers page a different one.
Anyone else have any comments about this?
I don't have any comment on the design aspect, but just to check on the members page, is it like, do we need to add a filter separately for it, or will it get adjusted automatically?
The filter, we already filter on the community badge.
Oh, we already do so.
Yeah, we already do filter on the community badge.
If you go to members,
Gaurav, could you go to members?
the drop down.
Yeah, the community badge.
Oh, no, I guess this is not the exact one.
This is what you were talking about, right?
I meant like as is for measurement, right? It could be we could add a similar one for community managers as well. Okay, that is community. Okay, got it.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
comedy
yeah.
one.
Mhm. That's what I said.
Got it. Good.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks,
Lots of
Gaurav.
good suggestions. So, with what approach should I move forward?
Yeah, so a link, the badge should link to the page, and then like Devopriya suggested, we could have a link to the community managers page on the Meshmates page,
Okay. Yep. Sure.
and nothing in the mega menu.
Okay. All right.
Another thing is like not related to the PR. Why have we added that indentation in the navbar for newcomers and meshmates? That is applicable only for that particular dropdown item.
Something
Does
that
anyone have
needed.
any idea?
If you go back to the site, it should be the case that you'll find other other items indented on different pages, like the calendar is because it's part of the same category. Because ultimately, when push comes to shove, newcomers and meshmates would if we had too many links, they would go away. We would just have the top level. Like if you go to some other, hopefully don't make me okay. And projects, we don't have enough. Landscape is its own button. So I guess the only other example is the calendar, which is actually, I think I don't know if I put an open request on this or not, but those two need to interrelate better than they do. It's just because they're a subset. Newcomers are a because there's community members, which includes newcomers. Which includes meshmates and community managers. Newcomers, I guess to Nikhil's point, is there's not a class of members that are labeled as newcomers.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Damn it.
So, another thing is like if you're indenting calendar as well, the path for the calendar should be community/events/calendar, right? But that's not the case.
Yeah. Okay. So so Nikhil's point is a solid one that needs to be addressed. The way that I would suggest that we address that is by removing the link to newcomers, that link, putting a different one down below that says something like resources for newcomers or something like that, that links to the newcomers page, because that's what that page is. And then to his second point, or rather to the discussion on events and calendar. So the calendar right now is all about these meetings, and then down below, there's even more details about the meetings themselves. Now, the events are about events that you all speak at. So there's a couple of talks that are coming up that, but the two are interrelated. Right now, these two pages, the events page and the calendar page, they don't link to one another. They don't one doesn't call out the next. Because in concept on the calendar, we should have, like, for example, DevConf, we should probably put that as an entry on the calendar, because it's like, it's an event for us that we might, that people should go and cheer on. There's 3 people from this community that are speaking at that event. So the two are interrelated. Nikhil or others, if you have ideas about how one calls out the next.
Like adding the events in the calendar would be a hefty task, I would say, because since it is not linked directly, then we will have to like add it as a reminder every time when we add an event to add it in the calendar as well. And again, if we add it in the calendar, then we will have to direct it to the events page eventually. So for my suggestion, I think we can just simply, instead of changing the path, we can remove the indentation and have the events calendar and forum in the same line.
Okay. Yeah. Man. That's why you don't argue with the meshmate. It just doesn't, so.
Yes. So the only thing indented here would be meshmates, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which then at some point it's like, okay. So what's, yeah. I have to think about this a little bit. I mean, the only reason that it's odd that is because it's the only one that's indented is the only reason that there's any weirdness about it.
Or we don't indent at all.
Right. Which kind of makes when it goes on for a long time, it just, like, if you go to projects, I think it's still digestible, but imagine if you have 3 more links, it starts to get long.
It'll just be one more, right? There are 6 here. There are 5 here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 6 on the other.
Yeah, there's 6 here.
Fine. It really doesn't, we shouldn't even spend that much time. Like, it's not that. Yeah, it makes sense. Hey, especially if other people are seeing that, like, it only strikes you as odd, then we should probably lean into that. So it sounds like we're going to do away with the indentation. Make sure we keep some of that code, just an example code around, so that we're aware that we have styling for it and can, but yeah. And then even outside of that, we still need to figure out how to link the calendar and the events and the call out to one another between the 2 pages.
I was just saying that even if we had more links for the community dropdown, I don't think it would be an issue. It's just that we have a stronger community than others, so we have more resources.
Yeah.
I think the main reason here is because of the white space that it's creating over here. So as like if the mega menu increases in size, the white space here would keep increasing.
Yeah, that is the primary. There's like one way to sort of circumvent that is to push us past, make it even bigger such that there's a grid of 4 events so that the white space is filled in. I don't know. I think there's some other thing. Yeah, this is well, shit, I'm glad, I guess I'm glad we're talking about this. Like if you go to blog now, just as you reflect on the mega menu itself, some of the links at the top, I think actually all of the URLs at the very top of the nav bar, they are all clickable and they will redirect you to a page. Yeah, not only those, but also the top, the nav bar itself, they're all clickable, which is okay. Fine. We've now got this resources section that will only grow in size, larger and larger. And yet, and so blog, like if in like, in concept, resources is, is a broader, bigger, broader category or set of things than just blog posts. So the question becomes, should we change the word, should we change it to resources instead of blog? And if we did, if you go back, if you hover on blog again, okay, so then it say resources in the nav bar, it would say resources at the top of the mega menu. Then it would have blog, news. Potentially we would start to add, like, where we're talking about events and the calendar, like, does some of that fall under resources at some point? Or so something for people to think on. It's no secret that hashicorp.com is a great source of inspiration. In some respects, there's not really much need to rethink what they've already thought. So yeah, we will only be adding more pages. We will only run into more challenges like, oh, there's a new page for community managers. How do we make sure that they get first-class representation in the mega menu? It's like, at some point, the pages won't. Like, at some point, but reflecting on hashicorp.com is probably good. Okay, if people have thoughts, do bring them up. I know we're just at the top of the time. I know Deborah Priya has something to show. There's some other people I think that have something to show. There's a different, we have two other like decent sized projects to start, and design needs to be done first for both. But so one is the service mesh playground that we talked about last time. The other one is on service mesh performance on that site. There's a bunch of benchmark tests that have been run and will be run. And we're going to want to show people the results of those. There's we have a description of, there's an open issue on this, in this GitHub repo that talks about, and it talks about the need for publishing the reports. And it gives examples of what the reports might look like, what the dashboard might look like. And where did that thing come from? It's kind of.
There was an open issue. Someone did it.
Yeah, which like, I mean, it's good that we have it, but it makes the page pretty long. And it's just another. Okay. So anyway, there's a GitHub issue here on this repo to go look into and get some ideas about what the reports might look like. Other than that, what else do we have that we needed to talk through?
Aditya, would you like to talk about the labs and learning part?
Yeah, so I have been working on the updating the labs. So currently Kuma and Linkerd are working properly. We were facing mounting problem with the image ID that we are using in Catacoda right now. So I was trying different image IDs. So the one I tried was not the Kubernetes cluster 1.18 that was there, which was not running. Yeah, it was not running. In that cluster also, we faced the same error, like there was a mounting problem again. So now I tried to test it in the Ubuntu 20.04. Yeah, Ubuntu 20.04 image ID. with that, if we install if we install Cube ADM and try to make clusters from the current version, that is 1.23, I guess, the Katacoda just throws it just throws an error that it does not have enough RAM capabilities. I guess the minimum requirement for 1.23 is 2 GB of RAM, and Katacoda gives just 1.5 GB of RAM. So that straight away throws error. So that was not possible. Now I'm trying for a lower version I'm trying lower version of Kubernetes. I've just now installed the 1.19 version, and let's see if that also throws an error or mount problem. Then I will report it back.
Sounds good. Yep. Meanwhile, are there any labs which don't work at all?
Uh, don't work at all. Yeah, Meshery Istio labs, the console labs that they don't work at all, and I guess except from Linkerd and Kuma, other labs don't work at some point or other.
Yeah, I'm trying, Aditya, can you go back in the history of the repo and see what images we were using?
Minikube.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Minikube.
think it was working
saw
with Minikube because
Minikube.
I have done most of the labs while I was working on them. With the Minikube image ID, it was working. Like the SQ one was working at least. Yeah, as far as I remember. So maybe we should switch back to Minikube.
Yeah, the Lee said don't use Minikube like straight away. So I was looking for Cube ADM.
No, but it's better for something to work. You know, like having it not work and on the website, like view, like it's a big part of the website, and we go, you know, we even be social about the labs, and if they don't work, so probably we should switch back to Minikube for the meantime, and then if CubeADM works later on, then we can change it again, right? It'll be easier to switch to Minikube than to remove the labs that don't work because they are in so many places. Yeah, so let's switch to Minikube for the meantime.
Okay, I'll change the image ID to Minikube and then I'll
Awesome.
make a pull.
Sounds good. Devapriya, would you? Okay, we're at the top of the hour. I guess we can discuss the other topics next call, or if there's something that someone wants to discuss, which is important right now. Devapriya, is it okay if we discuss next call?
Yeah, no problem.
All right. That's a wrap, I guess. Then, thank you guys for joining the website's call. I'll see you guys on some other calls this week, or at the same time next week on the website's call. Thanks for joining, guys. Bye bye.
Wow.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.